And, I think Ben Affleck, he was already doing some like lower level acting and some things. And then I actually saw a documentary on it. I forget exactly how it got made, but all the pieces came together. I think it was luck, talent, timing, and yeah,
Right.
and a great story. I think that's the thing. Like, first and foremost, like, yeah, all those other factors take a part: luck, right time, right place, right connections. But having a good piece of work. He wrote a great story. Same thing with Sylvester Stallone. He wrote Rocky. It was a great story. When you have a great piece of work, like, you can't, not that bad pieces of work don't get made, they do sometimes, but they don't get, you don't usually hear much about it afterwards. Whereas Sylvester Stallone, you look, he's had a 50, 60-year career now based, from that film.
Right.
He's, 8 sequels now. There's spin-off Creed, and he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Creed 40 years after his first film. So, it comes from putting your heart and soul into your work, and then then you let the results, whatever happens. But I think it's doing your best, what's in your power, what's in your control. Create, if you're an artist, it's creating your most truthful, authentic self, expressing it. He told a great story about an underdog. It was very personal to him. He was in a position in real, Sylvester Stallone, where he was kind of back against the wall, struggling, and it was like he took like 1,000,000 to 1 shot. He got offered, the studio, I think, offered to buy the film from him or buy the script from him for whatever amount of money it was. It was not a lot, but for someone that has no money,
At that time, yeah.
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 If you're struggling and you're going check to check, and then someone says, I'll give you $100,000 for your script, you might think, fuck yeah, okay. But
Yeah.
he had so much, I don't know if it's faith in it or so much belief in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
that he didn't sell it because he wanted to be in it. They wanted to buy it and not have him in it because they wanted to cast someone that was more marketable and more, who they thought, the studio
Right,
thought,
right.
would sell it. And he was like, no, I want to be in it. This is my film. I wrote it, and he stuck with that conviction, and it led him to having the tremendous career that he's had.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to in the end. You just got to have that will, that conviction, be like, not even an arrogant one, just I believe in this, in myself, and you just got to, deal with whatever comes. But so often those people do end up successful. Those are the kind of stories you hear. You hear about stories like actors driving from, Kentucky or wherever to, their car breaks down, they got no money, they got like a few $100s in their pocket, and they make it to LA, and they end up becoming, now they struggle for a long time. I remember hearing about like Adam Driver, the guy in Star Wars. I don't know, he plays like not Darth Vader, but you know what I'm talking about. I think he was in the military, had no money. He drove to LA, his car like broke down on the way. I think he almost was about to go back home. Anyway, long story short, like, he's turned into one of the most successful, up and coming actors for sure. Jonah Hill, you hear about them when they move out there with like their mother or whatever. And I think he was out there for like a year with his mother, couldn't get anything. And they were just about to leave. And like the last day, he got a phone call for something. And next thing you know, she's freaking Jonah Hill, So
Yeah.
you never know when the breaks are going to come. Who's to say? It's so hard to, I'm sure, most people do, like 90% probably end up failing, or at least not succeeding in the way that they want to succeed.
Right.
So, but that's why it probably always helps. Like you said, I think you're doing this definitely the smart thing. Just, there's only so many hats you can wear for right now. Just go full steam ahead. As long as you're going 110% at the acting, I'm sure you'll be good. So yeah, I mean, do you have like a plan, like another year, or like you're giving it, or
I don't.
you're not thinking that way? You just kind of, as long as
No,
you
I
can,
mean,
yeah.
if you, in my opinion, if you think that way, you're
Right,
setting yourself up for failure.
right, right.
I've been acting now for over 5 years, and it's my sole income. It's I've made a living for over half a decade just through acting.
So it is your sole income. You don't have a day job. You don't have, I feel bad for all those waiters and waitresses. I'm sure that must have were kind of doing that thing. They were, they're out of a job now. So I don't know what
Yeah,
they do, but
yeah,
well, that's fortunate for sure that if you can just focus solely on it, that's good. Do you do theater at all too, or anything like that, or is it just
done in New York,
okay?
but since I've moved out to LA, I have not. It's
Okay.
my
So
and that's another thing. Like as much as I love doing theater, because it is they say theater is an actor's medium, whereas film and television is a director's medium.
right,
Uh, but unless you're doing upper tier theater, it's the return on investment on time and energy.
right.
It's not,
Yeah,
it's something I would like to do. If I get to a place in my career where I'm making such a good living that I can step back from the film and television and do a play for an 8-week run, I would love to do that. But right now, for me well, right now everything's shut down, but to devote time into theater, it's the return on investment's just not there, unfortunately. It's
right.
very, very, very difficult to make a living in theater.
Yeah, no, I know for sure. I mean, especially even if you're on Broadway in some capacity, you know what I mean. Everything's so limited in runs, and who knows if it's going to be successful. And yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly tough, cutthroat industry, and you got to be really talented usually. Like obviously got to be able to sing or dance, or usually got to be something else besides just acting. You can't just
Yeah,
be
I
yeah.
don't really. Yeah,
You're not a
I mean,
singer. You're not a dancer.
I'm not a professional singer.
That's all right.
It's
Neither
fun.
am I.
I've
Yeah.
been hired a few times for like dancing involved
Oh,
things, like a music video, and one other time a commercial that involved dancing.
okay.
And they thought, because I danced in the audition, but I'm not a professional dancer. But they thought I was, which is
Wow,
kind of ironic. Yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
it's
good.
yeah.
What kind of moves did you put on them? Now I'm curious.
I would get the set, and then they I would be surrounded by real professional dancers that were trained.
Right. Oh man, I'd be intimidated. Jeez.
Yeah, it was intimidating,
Yeah.
but
All right, but you managed it somehow. You pulled it off.
I pulled it off.
All
Yeah.
right, that's all that counts. Well, that's why one of the things I love about actors, you always hear, they all say they can ride horses, right? They can all horseback ride, and then
Yes.
you hear that constantly, and then they get on set and they're like, "Yeah, I have no clue what I'm doing." But I'm sure you can ride horses, right? I'm sure that's.
I've ridden horses a few times. But I would say I'm proficient at it. But yeah, I've ridden a horse a few times.
All right, so you can hold your own. Yeah, I mean, again, for the sake of this purpose, we'll just say you're an avid horseback rider, in case anybody
Perfect.
asks. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well,
I'm
huh?
if anyone, all right.
Yeah, I got you. You can do a full blown cowboy any day of the week. Yeah, I mean, some of the things actors will do and put on their resumes. I don't know how you feel about like all dialects, impressions, like there's 1,500 different voices and everybody can do them all. Like an Irish accent or this accent or this Cockney accent. Yeah, I'm sure most people can probably do them, but I don't know. Like, what do you put that on your resume? Like, what are the things the other attributes that in terms of accents or impressions? Can you do impressions or is
Uh,
you just
I mean, not it's not on my resume.
okay? It's not like something you can just go right to, like like certain people can. You know what I mean? Like a Jim Carrey and just do this, and like a Christopher Walken, just go. Now,
Crazy. What,
crazy.
on.
Yeah, you work on that a little bit. It's a pretty simple one. You can do it. I think you can pull it off. I was I was watching The Grinch like 15 times the other day. There's so many great lines in there. But
The one with Jim Carrey?
yeah, the one with Jim Carrey. Of course, the one with Jim Carrey. Brilliant. You reject your own nose. It's such a good movie, such a classic movie. But yeah, it's kind of something I always wanted to do, like be able to just do impressions like on the spot. But like anything else, I think if you just work at it, you just train it. You could probably do it. But so like what, like do
I'm
you
a
have?
believer anyone. I mean, impressions and acting are different. They're two different things. But to piggyback on what you were just saying, that like anything, it's just practice. I'm a firm believer that anyone can become an actor if they wanted to.
Right.
It's it's what's so interesting about acting and what drew me to it is that it's not, you don't really need like an innate talent, or it's not like, you're, some people like with music, I think a lot of that, so to a degree you have to be born with a certain degree of talent, that not everyone can become a virtuoso piano player or violinist. But with acting, I feel like anyone can't, because to be an actor, it just means being truthful. And if everyone is an individual, everyone's unique in their own way, and everyone has the capacity to be interesting. And if they can just get out of their own way,
Right. Right. Well,
and
that's the trick. That's the hard
yeah,
part.
it's
It's
almost like learning to act is actually unlearning all the blockage we have, because
right. Right.
your life have to be, you form these defenses and blocks because the world is a cruel and dangerous place, and
Sure.
you have to kind of have your guard up. You can't be on the subway just saying whatever you want unless you.
Yeah. Or being silly, or Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
acting, creative acting is, it's a safe space. It's a safe place where you can be your authentic self, because everyone understands like we're acting. So
Right.
you can let your anger fly off the handle if the scene calls for it, because it's acting.
Yeah.
But it means actually getting in touch with your real anger. So some people, have difficulty with that. Some people have difficulty getting in touch with their emotional side and crying. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, because in regular life, you're taught not to cry. Especially if you're a guy. And if you're a woman, it's like you're taught oftentimes not to get angry. It's not ladylike. So it's like unlearning those defensive, social constructs and behaviors that we've adopted through society and through our parents. And it's like, all right, no, it's okay to cry. It's okay to get angry and shout in the capacity that we're for acting. In regular life, no. In real life, you may want to tell your boss, go fuck off, but you're not going to say that because you want to keep your job.
Yeah.
But in the great thing about acting is you get to, in that scene, you get to tell your fucking boss off, because that's how the scene's written. So you got to go to that place where, wow, if I really had the opportunity to tell my boss everything I want to say, this, that, and the other, how would I do it? And like go to that place where, real life you would never go, but here you get to. And that's what I love about acting, is that it gives the opportunity to do these things that you couldn't do in real life, or you would never do in real life.
Right. Yeah. You save that fu for your boss for acting class, but yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
trick number one is just letting go of your inhibitions, getting over those feelings of shyness, intimidation that everybody has. I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't. And when I do stuff, I still get nervous, sometimes. It's just, there's some kind of joy too in fighting through it, if you know what I mean. You're like, can I do this? I'm feeling nerves right now. Like, let me prove to myself that I can, fight through these nerves right now, and I can still, deliver a good performance. And then I think once you get over that, then you just start building on it, and just how much better can you get, and you start working at it. And I think there's still levels, even if I don't know if I don't know if maybe average Joe, if he worked for 15 years, could be quite as good as say a Daniel Day-Lewis or something like that. Like, could they get very close? Maybe, but I don't know, because again, average Joe isn't going to have done acting for 15 years, if you know what I mean. So I don't know.
So it's as good as, it's all subjective. It's an art form. So, who's to say who's better than who? I think for me, like what's the measure of success? What's the barometer? And it's truthfulness. And also what comes into play at a higher level is experiences.
Right.
So who's got more life experience is going to be able to better act, or have a wider array of roles and circumstances that they can act in, because they have experiences that they can relate to and pull from. That's why I've always been amazed by child actors that are good. Like, and a lot of children actors today are great. You watch Stranger Things; those
Oh
kids
yeah, no, they're amazing.
always baffled by it because I don't understand where are they pulling from, because they don't have a lot of life experience yet. If you're 12, you can only have so much, experience, and yet, they're playing boyfriend and girlfriend roles and dealing with death and lost loved ones and fear and you have to pull from something. So to go back to what you're saying, like, someone that has more life experience is going to be able to play certain roles better than other people that haven't experienced that. Like, I'm not going to really be able to play, I don't think, there's going to be people that can play okay, for example, take Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Look at the roles he played before he had any children, like Fight Club and Snatch. And then once he actually had a family and had kids, look at the roles he started playing. Like even in action films like World War Z, it was him trying to protect his family. Like he's able now to play father roles much more truthfully and honestly.
Right.
And that's why he really wasn't cast as the father
Prior to
before
that.
the actual
Yeah,
father.
that makes sense. That makes
There are
sense.
people that are going to play better fathers than me because I don't have children. So once I have children, I will be able to even better play a father role because I can, now I can imagine what it's like to have children. But imagining it and actually having children, two different things.
Yeah.
And that's a life experience. Having children is part of not everyone's experience, but it's a part of life if you have children.
Right.
And getting married, getting divorced, like all these things are life experiences that if you go through them, you'll be able to better play them in films.
That's so interesting that you kind of said it that way, because now actually I think you got me asking more questions than I thought I had answers. Because one, you brought up the kids. You're like, you don't know where they're pulling from. But then does that mean though that we don't really need the lived experiences? We don't really need to pull from anywhere, or just being able to pull from somewhere makes our work better as we're older? Is that what it is? Because like, if I play a cop in something, yeah, I think the latter. I think that makes sense. It just it adds the element because you know what that real emotion or real feeling is like because you've experienced it. But then like if you play a cop, there's plenty of people who've played cops or parts where they haven't been a cop before in their life. But usually what they'll do, especially if you're playing like a military thing, how many times you heard where they go spend time with the military or Navy SEALs, because you definitely want to get some sense of it. So what I think, yeah, again, another question there is like, do you need to actually, do you bring in a real cop to play a cop, or can that person just, I think the actor needs to go out and experience some of like what a cop does, or certainly read through some, have some basic understanding. Like you said, with the father too, you're going to know, okay, I wouldn't do this to my kid or say this to my kid versus. So yeah, I think it's, it's morphing those two things, the reality with a good actor, someone who can really act. That's where you're going to get the cream of the crop from. So it's my opinion.
I mean, you're not profession. You're going to play roles where you're not,
Right.
I don't think any actor been an astronaut, but what I'm saying?
It's a good point. Yes. Very good point.
So, you don't have to actually have done the profession to play the profession, but it does help to have an understanding of it. So I'm sure they sat with astronauts and interviewed them. De Niro, when he played Taxi Driver, he actually was a taxi driver for like a few days or something like that
right.
Experience. If you have the ability to try it and immerse yourself in that world, then it'll help inform the performance. But no, you don't actually have to have done that. But those professions and life experiences are different. Like when I said like having kids, marriage, divorce, those are life experiences. So a profession, I can play a boxer or an astronaut or a police officer. I haven't done, actually I did do an astronaut in one thing, but I've done those things. Not as an actor, I've done them.
Right.
So I can do them because I can research, I can research them. I can talk to people that have been in that profession. I can, but talking to someone who's a parent versus actually being a parent, it's different. It's like it's not a profession. It's not something like I can switch professions tomorrow, but it's not going to change who I am. However, going through getting divorced or falling in love, if you've never fallen in love with someone and never been in love and never been married to someone you love, you're not gonna. I think my personal belief is that an actor who's gone through that is going to play it. It's going to be easier for them to play it truthfully
More
because
sincere, or, yeah, because they've
yeah, like it can still be done. Like
right.
and again, going back to my point with child actors, take Kristen Dunst in Interview with the Vampire. She was a child, but she played like a 100-year-old vampire or however old.
Right. There's no way to experience that.
So you can't experience that, number one, but it's much harder for a child to imagine being immortal than someone who's, and an old man who's lived 60 years. So she was able to do it though, very convincingly. And that does amaze me. Like to see her play this character that's supposedly has been alive for all these years and has gone through all the things that, someone who's been alive for 100 years would have gone through. Time changes everything.
Yeah, sure. No, it is incredible. And I think so. I think there is some level of maybe innateness to it, like not every child actor at 10 or 11 is going to be equal in terms of their mental development or, their ability to tap into those emotions or take direction certainly as well. So you definitely need to find the right kid with all the right elements. But yeah, I think, I've always kind of been a believer. Anyone can act, certainly. Again, just how much time and, willingness willing to put into it, and how much can you overcome fear? I think that's just the biggest part of it. A lot of people can sing in the shower, but not a lot of people can go out and, sing on a stage. But so would you say, do you still get nervous during auditions and stuff, or are you pretty much over it, or does it depend on other factors, how much time you've put in, what kind of, casting director it is, or any of that?
It kind of depends on the audition. If I have time to really work on it and I feel confident in what I'm doing, then no, I'm not nervous. If it's when I have like certain, let's say a commercial audition, let's say it's a big commercial with a good rate. Mm. And there's no script or anything. I just have to go. I have a scheduled audition time, and there's nothing to prep. I'm just gonna go in. They just want to see what I look like, and they might tell me, they're gonna tell me something in the room. Okay. I'm more nervous for that because I feel unprepared. There's nothing to prepare, so I'm
gotcha. So
prepared.
Kind of out of your control. It's about
expect. So I can go in and be like, okay, now you just pretend that you're watching your daughter and she's baking a cake, and just play with her, imagining. So like they'll do things like that. So I go in the waiting room. I'm like, I don't know what to expect. So then I'm more nervous. If I have a script in my hand and there's like, all right, there's 4 pages of dialogue, memorize this, work on it, and I have a day or 2 days, and I'm memorized. I'm off book. I have made choices. I have a good feeling for who this character is, or at least what the scene is about. Then I'm less nervous. I feel like, all right, I got this. I'm gonna. It's a case-by-case basis. The more prepared I am, the less nervous I am. Usually, if I have a script, I feel good about it. It's when I don't, where they're kind of like, all right, just go there, and and I don't know what to expect. And sometimes it's just, just smile at the camera. All right, profiles, and
Oh, jeez,
yeah. The much more. It's like I feel like I'm a prop or an object and not an actor in those cases.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, and also you're probably not getting much feedback. Like if you did something wrong, you're like, all right, what did I do wrong? You know what I'm saying? You probably don't know. But yeah, I would think, that would be awkward to me. Just going in, sort of doing an improv thing, and you don't really know what to expect. So I would. Usually, how much time do you have to prepare? A day or two? You said for an audition, or
it's been a day or two.
Yeah.
It's but also the nerves are how you know you're alive. It's, you know, what I enjoy about acting so much is that it's constantly engaging. It's constantly, I'm
Sure.
never on,
Yeah.
you know, where I worked in finance, I was just going, it became mundane. It became very static. I was just, you know, going to work every day at the same time. I had lunch at a certain hour. I would get home at a certain time. And it was this routine. And for me, I just was unhappy with that. You know,
Right.
I was like falling to a place where like complacency and content. And I was like, I don't want to be complacent and content with this because this is not how I want to live the rest of my life. Like, yeah, it's easy. It's good money. It's, you know, there's perks to it, but I want to be engaged. I want to feel alive. And
Right.
then when I started acting and I started taking night classes and I felt nervous and I felt afraid getting up in front of, you know, the classroom. And I was like, this is that's what life is. Life should, if you're not feeling that, then, you know, take a look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think, you know,
No,
if
no,
you're,
I agree with you.
and
Yeah.
I don't mean you specifically. I'm
No,
talking
no,
about
I
like,
know in general. Yeah, yeah, I gotcha. Yeah,
you
but
know,
that's what I was saying. Yeah, about sometimes nerves, you just got to embrace them sometimes. You just got to fight through them. You know, even if they're, you know, making you sick, you just got to be like, yeah, this is, you know, I'm feeling something. It feels like I am an astronaut and I'm being, you know, I got tons of G-force pulling down on me. But yeah, you just got to embrace it sometimes. And
yeah,
yeah, and if you can experience that every day, who was it? Jim Valvano in his great SB speech that I think if you laugh and you cry, you know, like if you move to tears every day or something like that, that's a full day every day,
yeah,
you know, and there's a lot of truth and wisdom in that. So yeah, you just gotta embrace those nerves, and of course, somewhat, you know, they'll subside, but you don't want them maybe to totally subside. Maybe, you know, you always want to be kept on your toes. You always want to feel a little alive and that you're experiencing something new and something for the first time. But yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Cruise, I'm sure they get nervous still every once in a while, you know.
I
Um,
mean,
I would
I
hope
think,
so, kind of. You know what I mean?
yeah, in my experience, it's been like the nerves beforehand, and usually I'll try to find out if I can incorporate that. Like,
Right,
it,
right,
would the character be nervous right now?
right,
And a lot
right.
of times, yes. Like a lot of times, you're playing a scene where
Yeah, that's the
stakes are
best.
high.
Yeah,
So, all right, use that fear. This character would be afraid right now because he's just about to, you know, go tell his boss to f off, or he's about to break up with his wife, or, you know, whatever the scene's about. You know, there's usually nerves in the scene. So it's like use that, and it actually heightens the scene and makes the scene more alive. If it's not, if it's the opposite, where like let's say it's a scene where the character is very calm and collected and not a nervous character, and the scene doesn't call for nerves at the opening point of it, then I try to like acknowledge that, all right, I'm feeling nervous, but just ground myself, and then once usually action gets called, I'm in it, and once you're in it, like nerves and all that stuff, that's an anticipation thing. And when you're acting, you should never be anticipating. So once I'm actually acting and they call action and I'm in the scene, there is no there is no nerves and anticipation, because now it's like, all right, I'm in the moment and I'm listening and I'm reacting.
right,
So they
right.
they, they go. I remember one of the very first things I did. It was a music video for this band, Jack's Mannequin, and it was a pretty bigger budget music video, and I was like, I just I just started taking classes, and I started submitting to, self-submitting to some things, and I ended up booking it. I was like this Wall Street record label executive in the music video, and I remember getting up there. I felt real good. I had a nice suit on. I was working for Merrill Lynch at the time, so I felt like, I got this. And then I got up there, and it was this big green screen, and there was all these lights, and there was all these production and assistants and people, and I just felt like suddenly like my heart was pounding. And I only I don't even know if I had lines. I think I just had like an action, like
Right, right.
go over here. You know, my heart started beating, boom, 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 boom. But then once he called action, and I had to do the act, and I had to do act.
Right.
it subsided, and
Yeah.
it was like instantaneously as soon as it started, and I was no longer like waiting and aware of the lights, and I started was in it. And so I think there was another actor in the scene with me. I was, connecting to the other actor, and I was in it, and all those nerves subsided. So that's been my experience.
All right. Yeah, I think that's I've definitely had similar experiences. I think that's most people's experience. And then, the best feeling in the world is like when you know you've nailed it, and you just kind of get that. It's like that release of the nervous tension, but also that rush of like dopamine, like because you did something good, you did some good work, and it couldn't have come out much better. But yeah, I mean, I just out of curiosity, as we begin to wrap it up, are there any things you do regret though in general? Like, I don't know, do you wish you would have started earlier, or are there things now that obviously you wish you would recommend to someone else coming up, or doing the same sort of thing you did? I mean, I definitely think you made the right move. You got to go all for it, head right to the heart, the epicenter. Don't play around. Don't play any games. If you really want to be successful, that's what you got to do. But I'm just curious if there's any things you wish you would have done differently, or maybe for someone else you might say do this instead of that, or even if it was headshots, or I don't know, anything, anything.
Well, I would always say, I always encourage people to find a goal, an aim, something that, a direction of something that actually motivates you and inspires you, and that you wake up eager to do.
Right.
So for me, it took me a while to find that. My aim out of college was monetary and very materialistic. I wanted things. I wanted to buy a home. I wanted to buy a car. I wanted the nice bedroom set and the nice couch, and
Hey, nothing
it
wrong
was
with
just
that. Nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong with it. But it
Right.
it's it
What?
once you get it, it's like, all right, it's like a moment of pleasure. Like I
Right.
got it, and it's like, all right, okay, so I got the nice couch. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's good to have nice things. I like nice things, but
Then you're always
what
kind
next?
of chasing it, but without.
Yeah,
It's not quite
yeah,
self fulfilling. Yeah.
exactly. And it becomes, it should be the pursuit is where life and joy meet, and
Right.
it's not not the attainment of the things are transitory. So I found that okay, I'm going to work. I'm spending all my 10 hours a day, sometimes more, working a career for this corporation that you know it's not. I'm helping the corporation, and I'm giving them time of my life, like over a third of my life, more when you factor in the fact that you sleep for 6 to 8 hours a night.
Right.
So how much of my time, and am I going to do this for another 20, 25 years? Like, what is my value system? What do I value? And I decided I valued autonomy and my freedom, and I wanted to control my day. I didn't want to be told this is when you have lunch. I wanted to be able to make my own.
Yeah.
And then it was like, all right, well, I want to do that, but what specifically do I want to do? And then it was like, all right, find something that you're passionate about. Find your North Star, and then it's like you can be the most. It's like think of a boat. If you have like a great motor, but if you don't have a sail, then you're just you're gonna go in circles. Like
Right. Right. Right.
you need that direction. You need to know what you're trying to achieve, and then the motor is the discipline and the your work ethic. But with those two things, if you have work ethic and you have a direction, then I feel like go for it. You can set out to achieve it at
Yeah.
least.
But so now on that to follow up to that, then, because so did you do acting when you were younger, like, or it just kind of came like you said, you got to find your values. You didn't do it when you were younger. Okay, so you just
No.
sort of hit a certain age and you're just like, acting's it. You know what I mean? Like, why acting instead of, I don't know, maybe something else, maybe being a head coach on a sports, something else where you could find fulfillment, but why acting?
So I always loved movies.
Right.
I was the kid in college that had the DVD collection that was alphabetized, and I was always I would rewatch The Matrix 20 times, and I just loved Memento and Dark City, like little obscure films, and I love shows, and I was just a fan of film, and I just unfortunately growing up I never entertained the idea that I could be an actor. I grew up in a very middle class.
Mm.
Parents were teachers, and it kind of I didn't I didn't know that it was something that I could actually do
Right.
until I had I went to college. I got a degree in psychology. I double majored in criminal justice, and at that time I thought, okay, maybe I'll get into law, be a criminal psychologist, and then I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to start making money, and so I got my undergrad degree, and then I was like, all right, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to go to school for another 4 years to get my advanced degrees. I want to start. I just wanted to make money. I didn't really have that sale, so my aim was at that time just monetary, and that was cool for a little while until it wasn't. And
Right.
then I realized this isn't what I want to do. What do I want to do? And I never had any experience acting. I never entertained the idea of it as a real career option, but I knew I loved movies. And then at this point in my life, mid 20s, I was at a point where, I had bought a condo, I was living on my own, I was, um, I had achieved a metric of what society calls success, I guess you could say. And I felt, all right, I felt like a level of confidence where I was like, all right, why can't I be an actor? Why did I never entertain the idea in my mind? And I started just kind of doing a like self-reflection, and I realized, okay, well, you can if you want. Like, what's stopping you?
Right.
You are your own man. You're not married. You have no children. You have your only obligation is to, be a good human being,
Right. Right. Right.
society. But other than that, like
To
I can
yourself, sort of.
take care
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
I took care of myself.
Right.
So that's when I actually entertained the idea, and then I just was like, all right, if I'm going to do it, I need to learn how to do it. So I started researching schools. I first went to Stella Adler, and then I ended up studying the Meisner technique at the William Esper Studio.
Okay. Yeah, those are
And
two of the most world renowned for sure.
yeah,
So
very good schools.
yeah.
And my teacher, Terry Knickerbocker, who I learned Meisner technique from him. I did the full 2-year conservatory there, and then once I started taking classes, I fell in love. Like
Right.
it was immediate. At Stella Adler, my very first class, it was a scene study class, and I came in with a monologue that I had no idea what to do with a monologue other than, all right, I got to memorize these words
Right.
and go up and say them. But I was just animated, and I was in it, and I just remember the whole class like watching me and like interested. And I had always been a good storyteller, and I felt like this is what all I'm doing is up here telling a story with someone else's words right now, making them my own. And I had a rush, like all those feelings that we were talking about before, like that anxiety, that not even anxiety, that serotonin and
Right.
dopamine.
Just all those feelings that
Yeah,
yeah.
and I would go to work the next day, and I'd be at work, and I'd be like, "This fucking blows!"
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and
No,
the
for
dichotomy
sure.
between those two things was so clear to me that okay,
Yeah.
this is what I need to be doing because I'm getting so much joy out of this. It's the first time I had ever been in a classroom setting where I wasn't eager for it to end. Like I never liked
Right.
school. I
Right.
never liked school growing
Yeah,
up.
I've
I
been
always
there.
like looking up at the clock, waiting for class to end.
Right. Right.
Even in college, like I loved the college experience, but I didn't like
Yeah.
classes.
Trust
Like
me, I
I'd be
know
in
that.
classes.
Yeah.
Wait, oh, this is gonna be a long one. This is a 3-hour class.
Yeah.
Like so with acting though, it would be a night class because I'd be working all day and
Right.
go into town Manhattan and take a 4-hour class from 6:30 to 10:30. And when it
Jesus.
would end, I'd be like, oh, it's over, and like I didn't want to leave yet.
Right. Right.
And that was a new experience for me, being in class and not wanting it to end. I never did that. Um, so it was just so it became crystal clear that I would go to work the next morning and not be satisfied. I'd feel like, why am I doing this? Like I know I'm doing it because I need to pay my bills, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
like I can pay my bills doing this other thing
Right.
that I'm getting
Right.
so much enjoyment of. that's the dream. And then it became, at that point forward, it was like, all right, that I made a decision. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the full conservatory, learn how to do it so I can compete on a level where, you know, it's not like a hobby, but I'm actually a professional actor. Did that. And then, you know, so yeah, I mean, that's if I was going to give a recommendation, you know, I don't have any regrets as far as like starting late. I'm always asked that. I feel like,
Oh, you always ask that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
no, it's okay. No, it's fine.
Yeah,
You know,
so I didn't mean to
it's
touch a nerve there. No, I'm kidding.
no, not at all. It's just, you know, I feel like thinking that way doesn't serve a purpose.
Again,
I
right? It
think
doesn't
my
help. Yeah, yeah,
experience, you know, talked about experience earlier, has formed who I am today. And had I, you know, I think if I got into acting, if I went to school for acting, college, and started acting at 22, you know, who knows where I would be, but I feel like I definitely wouldn't be the same person I am today. And I like, you know, I like who I am. You know, I'm not without my faults. I'm always trying to improve and become a better person and a better
sure.
version of
Like
myself.
all of
But
us, yeah.
I feel like that part of my life has helped form who I am. And since I feel like I'm a person of, you know, I have a character and integrity. I feel like that was part of it, and that is helped informed the roles I'm playing today. So I don't have like regrets. You know, I just think I would be a different person, you know, if I started acting at 22. And I don't think I was mature enough, to be honest. I feel like, you know, I was a very young when I was young, I was young-minded. You know, I meet some people today that are like in their early mid-20s, and they seem so much more mature than I remember myself being at that time. You know, I was very, like I said, focused on just materialistic things and going out, partying, and
Right. No, I can trust
where
me. I can relate.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like there's nothing wrong with that. But like when I see some 22-year-old, 23-year-olds today that are like business oriented and they got their shit
Yeah, they got
together and
everything together. Yeah, yeah.
I was not that.
No.
So I don't, you know, I don't think I would have been able to play any meaningful roles really at that age. I was, you know, I would have been playing the college kid because that's kind of really all I knew at that time, at that age, was like college and partying. And I didn't have the experience of like living on my own yet and taking care of myself and having a career and switching careers and, you know, moving. And I moved across country. I got in my car and drove to California when I came here, having never been here before. That was an experience that informed who I am now.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like, you know, it's not about, you do it when the time's right is what I would always tell people. Like, do it, follow your intuition and your, you know, if there is one regret I do have, it's that I was once offered a role for a film and I turned it down at at a manager at the time that recommended that I turn down the film. And I listened to the manager, and my gut told me to take it
right.
because it was, you know, I love acting. And it
Right,
was a
right.
cool script and it was a good story. They offered me the lead role in it, and you know, everything was like, yes, 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 yes. And then my manager was like, oh, no, this is pilot season. You know, this is an indie film. Like, so I listened to the manager at the time and didn't listen to
Your gut. Yeah.
all the, you know,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like Matthew McConaughey wrote a book called Green Lights recently.
Right.
Like I had all the green lights that said, yeah, yes, do this.
Yeah.
This is what you want to do. And instead I listened to, like, you know, again, it's like the artistic versus the, you know, the corporate, you know, it's better to stay because we might have a better role coming for you. It's like, all right, well, maybe there's a time for that, you know, where you do have to turn down certain things for something better. But if something feels right, but other people are saying no, like, you know, I wish I at the time had more faith and trust in my gut
Right.
instinct. But I
Right.
was so new to the industry that I felt like, all right, well, they're a manager for a reason. Let me listen to the manager.
I hope you
Um,
fired that guy.
but we no longer work.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's always, even probably the top actors have those regrets. You hear those stories all the time. They pass on a certain role, you know. But I know what you're saying, especially as you're up and you're younger, and it's like, oh man, I really wanted to have done this in hindsight. But yeah, I feel like that game, you're always going to have to kind of play that game. You know what I mean? Weighing your options. Again, I don't know, the difference between pilot season and taking an indie or whatever, but yeah, I would imagine that's always going to be a part of it and probably a tough decision. And it's like when you mentioned earlier, like Rocky writing his script, how does he know it's going to be any good, and you're not a sellout if you do the other thing either, you just, it comes down to your own personal decisions. And yeah, you got to weigh them into the balance constantly. So yeah, I would, and now you mentioned Green Light. I'm glad you mentioned Green Light. I want to read that book, but, yeah, I think there's a lot of probably interesting. I feel like if there's something like an actor or even a person in general probably should read nowadays, I feel like Green Light might be that kind of book. I feel like Matthew McConaughey, he's had a lot of life experiences. He went
Yeah.
from like a rom-com guy to a serious great actor, Dallas Buyers Club. I mean, the guy's just sensational, and he was considered kind of not a joke, but he's one of those guys turned down $1 million roles in rom-coms for the more serious stuff. Um, you all good there? But yeah, I mean, on that note, we're almost out of time. But is there anything else you wanted to mention? Anything else you wanted to talk about real quick, or shout out, or anything? I know you can't talk about the stuff you got coming up in the works, but
Yeah, not yet.
yeah,
We
yeah.
can revisit or
Okay,
continue this conversation after, and I can talk a little bit more about that and what that experience was like.
okay,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I do have a show coming out soon.
All
Once
right.
it gets announced, let you know, and you can update your channel if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. I'd love to hear all about that. But all right. So
Yeah.
in the meantime, we won't break any news here, but so it's been a pleasure having you on, man. I'm really, glad we got to do this. Hopefully we can do it again. Thomas Gipson, everybody. Yeah, again, I appreciate you coming in. It was got almost 2 hours there, so
Yeah,
hopefully,
time
yeah,
flies.
yeah. It does when you're having fun. But yeah, so I wish you best of luck on your next endeavor and life in general and all that, and hope all goes well. And I don't know, again, maybe we'll do like I said, a remake of Interview with the Vampire. I'll play Kirsten Dunst. You can play Tom Cruise. I'm
I
down for that.
was thinking Mission Impossible. The Henry
All
Cavill. You
right,
got the
all right,
build.
all right, all right. We'll do that first, then we'll go back to the other one. All right, fair enough. All right, man. I
Cool.
appreciate it again. So yeah, best of luck and Merry Christmas and on Happy New Year, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.
Hopefully, man.
All right,
Likewise. Stay safe.
all right, man. Take care. Stay safe. We all good? Yep. Is he off? He's still on? He's off. Oh.